Peace. It's Bronzebird here with another video. Before I begin, like and subscribe. Thank you. So, if you've been viewing my YouTube channel for a while, I have always been the one to put a magnifying glass on those unfavorable so-called black men in society who are usually rap artists or those that's involved in gang activity or gang members that is. Sometimes I do see that a lot of these so-called black men who happen to be rappers get out of the gangster programming and develop a second conscience, usually when they go to prison or they're indoctrinated with the prison's ways and they go for whatever they go for. They get out of prison and they have a whole entire different profound way of thinking. So much so I decided to add this to my series, Pro Liberal Blacks, in which I wanted to stir the pot of understanding and having a conversation on these brothers that are rap artists, why they decide to say leaving out the hood is good, in which others on the other spectrums feel like rappers should be more than welcome to come back to the hood and actually want to deal with those products of people that still live in the hood. My thing about it is, at the end of the day, the hood is a hood. I started to get into the mindset, yeah, I could be proud of where I come from, but that doesn't need to be my ultimate destination. Now, of course, there's a different topic of conversation now past 2020 or what's been happening for the last 20 to 30 years, which is the process of gentrification, in which other groups of people, namely so-called white people, come into the neighborhood and start making more investments into the neighborhood itself and try to see it as a good cash cow for relatives or yuppies that want to be able to stay in the city without actually having to drive or take a railroad from the suburbs. Such as so, I decided to go back to the guy in particular that I have made plenty of discussions about, Bobby Shmurda, famous for his 2014 hit. We already know, Hot Boy. And everybody always thinks about the time in that video where he throws the hat up in the air and it doesn't fall down. I mean, there was an interview where they asked him, "Where did the hat go? Where they at though?" So I found it interesting that he decided to go in an interview and say this, and which I'm going to show you soon, in which I was really astonished to hear from him what he actually thought about it. So I decided to give my perspective on it as well. So, Pete.
You gotta leave the hood, bruh.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta leave the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Can't be in the hood, bro.
And tell me why.
Because the hood is like, you gotta understand, when you come from them ends,
Mm-hmm.
it's struggle.
Okay.
When you come back to the hood, you come back to bless the hood. You don't come back to chill in the hood and have police because you got enemies. You understand? So
Well, before he continues, this is my whole perspective on the whole entire hood thing. Now, the thing about it is they were more likely to pay attention to rappers or those that's clout or public figures than they're going to pay attention to the common so-called black man or minority, so-called minority that decided to get out the hood and engage in a high-paying job or career, so-called high-figured or whatever and stuff like that, because it's not clout. Now, the thing about it is it the same as when you're a public figure and you're a man who decides to venture out and let's say you get into tech. It's not the same thing. Now, the thing about it is, the ironic thing is, if it's a man that gets into tech or a high paying career and he comes back to the hood, a lot of people will ignore him. But if it's a rap star, such as Bobby Shmurda, that decides to rap about gang violence and talk about gang activity, he's getting a check from the label, they're going to hold him in high regards than they will hold those that's into, let's say, white collar, high salary paying jobs. It's just something that I want to put on your mind because it's something I notice and I hope you notice it too. But the idea about don't go back to the hood and stuff like that is because those people want that carefree lifestyle, be able to have the glam and the glitz. We obviously know this, but this is just something I really like to come back to and have a conversation about.
So the more fame, richer, whatever you get, the more success you get, is the more angry
that
the people didn't like you.
Because it's envy. They want what you have, which is that fame, glory, glitz, being able to wear chains around your neck, being able to meet all these different celebrities and be on radio stations and all this other stuff. We already all know this, but to stretch the point again, the idea about living in the hood and it's like I did a video on this, as I said before, especially when I was talking directly to the so-called black man. I made a video that was called "The Hood is a Starting Point." I don't imagine those that's in a higher consciousness of thinking staying in the hood. I would think that every so-called black man that has a higher conscious of thinking would want to get out of the hood and move somewhere where, I'm not necessarily saying you have to live in the suburbs with so-called white people, because that is to deny that there aren't any so-called black suburbias within the United States, which there are. And a lot of people don't like to touch on that. And a lot of people don't like to touch on that idea. There are so-called black people who are in higher positions, whether they're man or woman, that are creating communities for so-called black people to live in, and is doing exactly what they have to do when it comes to jobs or creating their own business and opportunities for other brothers and sisters.
And you sitting there in their face all day. You think police ain't gonna be mad? I was locking this nigga up in wall, this fucking. If they mad at the dope dealers, what the fuck you think they gonna do to us? Like, come on, like them nigga asking for gonna get thrown on them or some shit.
Well, I mean, that's his opinion. What do I believe about the police? They're just doing their jobs. They know that at the end of the day, they can always catch hoodlums. They can always catch dudes that's out of order, that's involved in gang activity. It's easy. Why do you think his ass got locked up? His ass was involved with GS9 and all these other things and stuff like that. And this is what I tell the brothers that are rap stars, that you're gang affiliated and this, that, and the third. Maybe I did make a video on it, or I should. Stop rapping about the actual gang activity you're doing. Like it's one of those type of things you're telling on yourself. And too many times, a lot of stuff I've witnessed this year, a lot of stuff that I've even seen in the city that I'm from, a lot of brothers told on themselves. A lot of brothers got locked up because they say too much in these music videos. And then they track you, they find out what this, that, and the third is going on, and then automatically you get a knock on your door and they said you're arrested. I mean, obviously, I know with New York, they're not playing no games with this hip hop. So they wanted to go ahead and make those laws in the New York Senate that I did a Brownstone powwow solo on, in which I had preached the fact of the matter that they're doing this directly to affect hip hop in New York because they want to regulate it. Now, so many people got so mad about that video. I mean, that Senate bill being pushed forward. I don't even really see a problem with it. I didn't see a problem with it because now you just have to think. Am I sitting up there saying you should stop rapping? No. Think about what you're doing, though. Otherwise than that, peace.